Family Worship Primer, Episode 16.
Welcome to Bridgecast, an online internet broadcast hosted at paulthompsonblog.com. In today's broadcast, Paul may give reviews of books he's been reading, interview friends, explore church history, or consider current events, all with the hope to keep the lamp of Scripture on the narrow path. Listen in as Paul considers today's topics.
We've come through these series of questions here where we're asking important questions about the things that God, where God is, the things God sees, the things God knows. And so in this question, does God know all things? So just like where is God, or can you see God? We also want to ask this important question, does God know all things? And so the answer, of course, from Proverbs 15, verse 3, we want to answer that from the biblical text. As we do in all of these questions, we want to be able to answer that question, does God know all things, with this: yes, nothing can be hidden from God. Let me stop and take a minute and encourage you how important it is that your children are formulating the answer to these questions, not just by rote, not just by here's the question, here's the answer, but that they're coming to this conclusion from the bedrock of Scripture. So use Proverbs 15, verse 3 as the help in teaching the children to think properly about God. Does God know all things? Well, when we say yes, we want to know why we say yes. So let Scripture be that helpful teacher, that helpful tutor to us. Does God know what 2 plus 2 is? Yes, God knows what 2 plus 2 is. Nothing can be hidden from God. There is nothing that God does not know. Does God know how tall I will be? Yes, God knows how tall I will be. Does God know who I will marry? Yes, God knows who you will marry. Does God know what kind of job I will have? Yes, nothing can be hidden from God. See, as we're teaching this level of understanding of the high and the mighty, the high and the lofty ideas of God, that we're preparing the children to think differently about God than most of the culture does. If God knows what will be down the road for me, how important is it that I get to know God? It is incredibly important. Does God know all things? If God knows all things, and He does, Proverbs 15:3, then why do I search for an answer from anywhere but God? Well, that may not be completely understood by the smallest of our children. But if they're thinking, if they're learning these things while they're young, as they mature, as they grow older, and you're reviewing these with them, and you're giving the explanation points behind these questions with the answers from Scripture, and not just some kind of an idea that we want to have about God, that they're actually from God. God's given us who He is. He's given us how to think about Him. He's given us what to do about Him. He's giving us instruction on how to live our lives according to Him. And so as a result of that, down the road, may the Lord bless our children with an increasing awareness that God knows all things. And because God knows all things, I can trust Him with this current situation in my life. Now, God forbid, there'll be no part about this that we'll ever hope that any of our children will suffer tragedies in life. But it would also be foolish of us to think that there's no possible way that they ever would or wouldn't. But one thing can be certain, that we can be teaching our children things about God now, so that in the event, if they ever are in a tragic situation, who will they turn to? Who will they lean on? Who will they cry out to? We want to teach them, cry out to God. God knows all things, and there is nothing hidden from Him. Oh, may your children be blessed by this knowledge. May you, as a parent, as a grandparent, As an adult, be encouraged in the fact, regardless of the circumstances of your life, there is nothing hidden from God. Even this current moment that you're in right now, none of it hidden from God. Nothing catches God by surprise. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless your children. May the Lord bless your household. And may He bless His church with an increasing pleasure in God to know
Thanks
who
for
God
listening
is.
today. Feel free to write Paul with questions or comments related to today's topics. Helpful links can be found at the blog link related to this broadcast at paulthompsonblog.com.